Vancouver's Chinatown was not built as a destination. It was built as a lifeline. People who were pushed to the margins, shut out of opportunity, and told where they could and could not belong. But they built anyway, store by store, family by family. It pulsed, it worked, and it became magnetic. But then slowly the pulse weakened. Rising costs, aging buildings, less attention from the city racing forward. And then the pandemic hit, not as a pause, but as a rupture. Foot traffic vanished overnight. Seniors retreated indoors. Small family businesses lost a daily rhythm that could keep their doors alive. And this is how places unravel, not with demolition, but with absence. My guest today is Carol Lee, and what she saw in that moment was not failure. She saw a break in connection, an absence of belonging, and through the Vancouver Chinatown Foundation, she helped ignite Light Up Chinatown. This is a story of how Chinatown reminded a city who it is and how one person helped turn darkness into belonging. Let me now introduce you to Carol Lee. Carol Lee, welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me on the show.
I think there's a core word that's going to roar through this entire video, and it really is about community. So let's go back to 2012 when you created the Vancouver Chinatown Foundation. And at the time, what should have been a landmark, something of beauty, was in a state of decay.
It was a very different neighborhood than I remember growing up, which was vibrant. It was fun. It was the center of a lot of activity, but it was nothing really new. And in fact, when I was looking through my father's effects, he passed away and I found a letter from the city of Vancouver dated 1967 that said, "What do we do with Chinatown?" And so in 2012, I set up something called the Vancouver Chinatown Foundation. And the idea was to bring a lot of like-minded people together to figure out how we could try and solve some of these big social issues. And I would say, RBC was right up there in the very beginning, believing in us when even I would say that my own family wasn't very strong on the idea.
And when you bring people together and they look around the first time in this neighborhood in disarray, how did you convince them that this was something that had possibility, that you could return the magic and make it even better?
Well, we couldn't have done it without Carmen and Martin Thibodeau. I had put together a group for economic revitalization and he volunteered to be on it. It was a very tough task because even my father, who was no stranger to difficult challenges, said it's impossible. And I said, look, if we don't try and do it, who's going to want to do it? And so I tried to find people that had some sort of roots, that grew up and remembered Chinatown in its heyday and said, let's see if we can band together and try and revitalize this neighborhood.
Fast forward now to the pandemic, where you're starting to get some wind at your back. Next thing you know, this hits, and almost overnight, anything you had created was really collapsing around you.
It's in times like that you realize, what you're made of. And I wasn't really thinking about myself. I was thinking, okay, what about my neighborhood? The government was providing a lot of, supports during COVID. With that program alone, there was almost $4 million that came into the neighborhood. Another thing that we did is we started something called Light Up Chinatown. So we thought, we need to get people to come back into the neighborhood to support small business. RBC came to our rescue. It was 1 month before we wanted to have this event, and we didn't have any sponsors. And so they agreed with 4 weeks to go to be the presenting sponsor. And that first year, we had 5,000 people. The one thing we're good at trying to do is give people hope. And I think that the merchants were just overjoyed that there was this many people that wanted to come and support them. Once you have success, it's amazing. You get this momentum that people want to join. They're looking for things to support. So last year, we had our 5th year. We had 22,000 people, and it's become a signature event now in the city of Vancouver.
Did it have a lasting impact? Did it start turning the tide from impossibility to possibility?
100%. Ours is a people-centric approach. If you raise the infrastructure around the people, what happens? And so this is what can happen. It lifts the people up. And actually, Wall Street Journal noticed. So there was an article that was written December 29th, 2025, and it was in the travel section. It said, if you want to visit Vancouver, you have to go to Chinatown, the most exciting neighborhood in the city.
I have to believe that what you created is not exclusive to Chinatown, but it could be inclusive to communities across Canada.
People need to know that somebody cares about them.
Now, if your dad was still with you and the mayor of Vancouver was to write to them about Chinatown, what do you think the letter would say today?
I think that they would say that they're happy with the way that Chinatown has shown its resilience. Somebody actually just sent me a note yesterday, was one of his classmates, and said that, your dad would be so proud.
It's people like you that remind us that when we come together in the middle and we think about what we can do together, this is where emotion roars. This is where people walk away going, I'm so proud to be a human being.
I feel lucky to be surrounded by so many people who have the same vision of what's possible. Magic can happen. You get the right people around you.
Carol Lee is a visionary force in our community, and truly, she is a standout human.
Her energy, her vision, and the trust that she instills was nothing short of magical. I walked around a few blocks and I had never seen so many smiles, and I had never seen, Chinatown vibrating so much. And that was the best reward.
It's an impact that ripples beyond the event. It's a deep feeling of heart and care.
And she's the type of leader that is a visionary, but able to action change at the local level. And that's a special gift to have. The world needs more Carolees.